give a fuck.
Are you sure?
I just don't give a fuck.
Presenting The Art of Not Giving a Fuck with Garrett John.
Hey everybody, this is Garrett with another Art of NGF podcast, and today I've got a very special guest. Welcome, Misty.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, great. I'm very happy you're here. And folks who've been following the Art of NGF podcast for a while will remember we had Misty on. Now I guess it's been a couple years.
Time flies. Yes, it's probably been a year or two since the last one.
It's insane. So I just wanted to have you back on and find out what you've been up to between then and now, and then ask you some really specific questions to help folks out who are feeling like the world's crashing in on them, or they're under loads of stress but still need to get stuff done, or they're in a job that they hate and their life is collapsing a little bit and they need to get it together and try to make some kind of transition and make stuff happen even while not really feeling up to it. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But to start out with, so what have you been up to since we last talked? I think then you were running some of the fitness or gym kind of training. Is that correct?
Yeah. I had a brick and mortar business for about 10 years in Toronto. And that was primarily a fitness boot camp and nutrition place. And then I was balancing all the copywriting and the email marketing business at the same time. So I finally ditched the brick and mortar business, which I would highly recommend to anyone in the world. Get rid of the brick and mortar business and go strictly online. So I finally managed to do that. It was hard. It was tough because that was my, it was my baby. It was my first business. And it was, I'd had it for 10 years. And that really coincides with what we're going to talk about with the stress and the world crashing in type theme of this podcast. And so I went full on into email marketing. So I work for clients and I do all their email marketing in a day in, day out basis. And I offer strategic business coaching. So business coaching that includes structural components of their business, but also, marketing, like email marketing and how they're going to market their business. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis now. And it's busy. Like I got a lot of work to do for a lot of people. So it's been a really exciting and stressful adventure, but you just got to roll with the punches, I guess.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, congratulations on making that transition. I didn't realize that you had closed that down, or did you sell the old business, or did you just close it up?
I parted it out to the trainers, to the staff that were there. So I had a team of trainers that were there, and they were all offered to take their own, clients with them, and off they go. And I just figured that would be the best way to look after the trainers, who were super loyal to me for years. They were just amazing people. To make sure the clients were taken care of and the trainers were taken care of, I just parted it out and said, you know what, you guys have at her. It's the evolution. So you guys go ahead. And that's what they did. And you know what, that was the best way, because there was no backlash. There was no bad blood. It just felt good to do that. So,
awesome. Well, that's great. Nice transition then.
Yeah.
And then maybe a side question. I'm just curious, in terms of email. Again, I always see the big guru marketers and all this stuff, and a lot of them saying, nobody's opening emails, or you got to go to Facebook, or you got to do all these other things. But and it sounds like, by the fact that you have a business going that's built pretty heavily around emails, that's not true. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I would say that definitely in the past couple of years, the email marketing game has changed considerably. And a lot of times now we find ourselves, we should, all the other email marketers should be writing more for compliance than they are for storytelling and, the way it used to be. And I think what the problem is people aren't understanding that aspect of it. They're not really delving into deliverability rates. They're not really getting into the nerdy side of email marketing. They just want to write cool stories. And that's why a lot of people are not having much luck anymore. And unless you do the work that I've done and get the software that I have and have the knowledge that I have around that, email marketing is going to get trickier and trickier and trickier for people. But if you can figure it out, if so if you can figure it out while everybody else moves to Facebook, and you can figure out the email marketing side and deliverability stuff, then you're going to be gold, because everyone moved to Facebook and you're still here. So it's never going to die. It's never going to be, it's part of the arsenal. That's for sure. So I think that I would be happy if everyone moved to Facebook and left me alone to do all my emails for myself. That'd be great.
Right. That's awesome.
And then I will dominate.
I've even heard that people are doing well with postcards and direct mail again now.
Direct mail. I mean, I was with Titans with Brian Kurtz and Dan Kennedy, and he came to present at one of the events that Brian put on, and there's nothing dead about direct response at all. Like, we're talking, mail outs and 48-page magalogs, like things like, there is nothing dead about that. Like nothing. Like, it was incredible having that learning experience and realizing that these are options that many people just ignore because it feels like it's, from the 80s, but it's really not. It's alive and kicking, just like email.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's a good thing to know. And that's another thing I think that touches on something, is that just because the popular media or social media or Google searches about marketing or something like that give you one set of results, it doesn't mean that's the full story. And it doesn't mean that
totally
can't go out and be creative. I think anyone who, even a fiction writer, I just had ideas off the top of my head now, but somebody who was a no-name fiction writer, but who was very creative, could do an extremely compelling series of mail outs of postcards, and then, kind of mystery, start a little mystery that then leads up to getting a book or a serial of books or something like that.
In our masterminds, we encourage people to send handwritten postcard and handwritten, letters and little personal notes to people. That's part of the training that we do. So especially, like as you said, we had an artist, Julia. She came to one of our masterminds, and she she does a whole handwritten series as well for the people who buy her prints. That's definitely part of her marketing, and it's and I think that's great. I love getting little presents and cards in the mail. It's awesome.
Yeah,
who doesn't love that stuff?
Exactly. And it's funny because thinking about it is like companies like Amazon and everything. It's like, obviously everyone is still going to the mailbox or going to wherever they pick up their mail, or getting it delivered from a mail drop or something like that. But there are physical things being brought to people's houses, maybe even more now than before. Yeah,
I think when it comes down to it, the written word, I find the written word and music to be the two most powerful things, right? The humans will always generate, or not generate, they will always congregate around words and around music. And so anytime you use those two things in your marketing, you're going to be, it's going to work. Like, people love, the human race loves that stuff. So you might as well, use it
Right.
if you want success, right? Do the things that humans love and you'll be all right.
Yeah, definitely. That's good news. And I think people listening can take heart that if you just spend some time being creative and, like you said, looking up the compliance, and you're going to need to do that with any business, whether it's a spam emails or like I just had a Facebook ad denied because I forgot to take the swear words out of it. Just simple little stuff, but yeah, it can make a big difference.
When it comes down to that stuff, and this is like highly nerdy, but the devil is in the details. And when it comes to email marketing these days, you simply just have to know what you can say and what you can't say. So once you've cracked the code a little bit, and your emails are, people are loving your emails and you're getting the emails to the inboxes, you can put your swear words back in. That's not a problem. It's just, if you're having problems in the beginning, there's a little transitional period where you might have to clean your act up a little bit before you can slide back into that. So, it's just knowing sort of like the comings and goings of the email marketing world, because it's a moving goalpost, seriously.
Right.
So, yeah.
Very cool. Well, interesting little side note. And hopefully some folks who are listening will get something out of that. And I know I just did. I'm going to look into a little more into compliance. And I know I have options even in the email service I use that I don't actually use the options, but I think just clicking that extra button will show me a lot of details about deliverability. run little tests at very minimum. So yeah, thank you for that. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, no problems.
And so let's get to the main course that we described at the beginning, which is how to keep going when the world's crashing in all around you. And so, do you have any personal experiences first with that?
Yeah. I mean, I think I feel like I live inside the world crashing down some days, but I think, not to give you the longest history in the world, but probably 6 years ago now, I got divorced and found myself as a single mom running a business. And that right there is like, it's really hard. Like, if there's any single moms listening or single parents listening and are entrepreneurs, it's very stressful. And oftentimes you simply feel like you're just there to pay the bills. Like you're just the person there to pay the bills and keep all the plates spinning and, pay your staff members, keep the rent, paid, all that kind of stuff. And as an entrepreneur, you go through this roller coaster. Some days you feel really awesome, and then the next day you might feel like the world is crashing in. So I think it's par for the course, when you're an entrepreneur, and then throw any life disaster your way, and it can get really overwhelming. So I would say, if you are struggling financially, it will feel like the world is crashing in on you every day because you're just, scrambling to pay the next bill and keep the lights on. I will say, after I closed the business and the brick and mortar business, which was last August, that was a hard place to be. 12 years of my life had been spent gearing towards, marketing fitness, talking about my own weight loss story and motivating people to try to come to the gym. That's what I did every single day. Every day I got up, I knew exactly what I had to say to people to get them to come to my gym. And then at August, I didn't have that anymore, and I didn't really know where my voice went. I kind of lost all my voice. And as a person who's used to working 12 to 18 hours a day, sitting on the couch and watching Downton Abbey for 5 hours at a time, really, it was hard. Like I didn't know where my money was coming from. I didn't know where my life was going. It was a tricky transition. And so you often feel like, oh shit, like what have I done? Like this is a disaster. I've done this big thing and I've got no plan to fix it. But ultimately, God or the universe or whatever you believe in comes around and picks you back up again and puts you on your feet. So the world crashing in is a temporary state that you'll go through multiple times in your life. It's just knowing that you're going to come out the other side smelling like roses, which is that you've just got to keep that faith, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. And look, it worked out. So I'm proof.
And so on a day-to-day basis, so did you know what your next business step was before you closed down the old one?
No. Like I knew that I knew that my passion had dissipated. Like I just wasn't, I wasn't in that headspace anymore. I knew that this was over for me. And when I know something like that, I make pretty decisive decisions on that. I will go ahead and cut the cord. But I didn't have a plan. And that's probably one of my strengths and one of my weaknesses. I tend to jump into things without listening to my gut, without necessarily listening to the logic, which, can suck. If you don't like the world crashing in on you, don't do that. So yeah, I didn't really have a plan. I figured I'd do some coaching, it's because that's what I do. But the clients weren't there. It was summer, no one really wants to pick up coaching in the summer and spend that money. And, so it was a very, it was tricky, but, as things tend to happen, I actually ended up working with a friend of mine who's had her business for 10 years and now became her director of editorial, which means I write lots of emails every day, really is what it means. But it kind of came around. So there was no specific plan, but there was faith and there was a realization that the thing that I was doing at the time wasn't for me anymore. And, those two things are very important.
Yeah, definitely. So what was it like then? How long did you have to how were you able to keep it all together in that transition?
I think I drank some wine. Pretty sure I drank some wine. Can't remember, but no. So and this really goes for anyone. If you have your business, so say you have a business that you're not passionate about, or you're in a 9-to-5 job that you hate, or something in your life, it just isn't serving you anymore, whether it's a job or a person or whatever it is, you kind of have to cut the cord. You don't really have a choice in that, right? You have to make sure that you get rid of the things or the people that don't serve you anymore. And so I knew that was the key. This business wasn't serving me, and it was keeping me trapped. So I was like, fine, gonna get rid of it. And so I leapt into the unknown, which was basically the couch. And while I was sitting on the couch in desperation, thinking, shit, what am I going to do with my life? I had a great conversation with a friend, Lisa, and she just said, you have been given this opportunity to chill out for a minute. Like, just chill out. You've been going straight for 12 years. Just chill out. Take the white space that's been granted to you and just relax for a little bit. And as hard as it is to relax when you've got no money, I decided, all right, I'll take her advice. It felt like I was in limbo for a year. When I look back, I was actually in limbo for 8 weeks. So before the next big thing came around. So I think that that's an important part of it, is while you're in the world crashing down on you phase, it feels like forever. Like because you are constantly ruminating on your tragic situation. But when you look back, you'll be like, oh, actually, that was like a month of my life. So if you're currently in a very stressful time, it's not going to last forever. It hasn't been that long, and it won't take forever to get back on your feet. And then when you look back, you'll realize, because hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, of course. Wow. So do you feel like some of it was the connections you've already made and like in your business world, or going, you mentioned you went to do the Titans thing. Was that before or after the transition?
That was during, yeah. So I was kind of in Titans and preparing for the closure of the business. And I met some amazing, people in Titans. I already had friends in the Titans group. So that was awesome. But I'd say that the connections that I made there were more longevity connections. They weren't sort of instant, here's some, they handing me some work. The stuff that I did came from people I knew, like from years. It's always people in your circle that will help you with the next step. So if you're struggling, you just look to the people in your immediate circle, and I can guarantee they're going to be the ones to help you out of your, whatever you're stuck in inside of. So yeah, I got I basically work on word of mouth and referrals. And so, that was really awesome. So yeah, I did, I just kept on talking to my friends and kept on making sure I was there for people and offering the advice that I could. And yeah, it just so happened that I reconnected with a friend from a long time ago, and she just said she needed the help, and it just kind of spiraled from there. So if you're in a position where you're stuck and you don't know where to turn, make a list of all your friends and all the connections that you have, and start helping them. Just go out there and help them with whatever you can. And I can promise you that will change the trajectory of everything.
Yeah, I forget what the book is this idea comes from, but I heard about it through some program that Mark Joyner was putting on that I joined. Mm-hmm. But it was called Acres of Diamonds. You take an acres of diamonds inventory. In your life, and even just making out a PDF of that, or just a list in a notebook, I noticed, like, oh wow, I know all these different people all over the world. And even if it meant like, oh, I could go to this farm somewhere for a while and just regroup, and I won't have to, you know what I mean? Whatever it is. Oh, I think the book is called Acres of Diamonds. Is that right?
If it is, that's a fantastic name, because that's exactly what you need to do. If and it doesn't even need to be that you're going to harvest them in any way. You're just going to help. There's a book out there called The Go-Giver by Bob Berg, and it's the notion is that you give before you get, right? Mm-hmm. And instead of being a go-getter, go and be a go-giver. And so ultimately, the stuff that you give out to the world, or these contacts that in your acres of diamonds, ultimately what you give out will come back to you tenfold. And I've always thought that if you don't know what to do, go and help someone, and that will figure it out for you. And it's hard because you might not feel like helping other people when you're miserable or sad or stressed, or you're suffering from anxiety attacks. but you must go help someone, and that will get that will get the ball rolling again in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed that in the boot camp that Mark Joyner was putting on, and I had joined that after I joined a thing that Russell Brunson was doing, and I because I had noticed I was just not. I was doing enough to get by, but not feeling inspired or excited doing the things that I could do. And then by joining each of those groups, I was able to make a huge leap ahead. And then particularly in the Mark Joyner, it was called the Cash Injection Mission Boot Camp. And, you know, some of them were live calls and stuff, but there was a group on Facebook, and I noticed a lot of people struggling with what I found to be very simple issues. So I just started posting and helping them move past those, or just sending folks messages. And then also I noticed some really high level people just reaching out to me and helping out of nowhere. And there was kind of a vibe there, and no one was having to enforce that or anything. And at first I thought, why is this guy even helping me? What is this about?
Isn't it crazy?
And then when I started helping too, I realized, oh, this is actually fun. And
this is how it works. It's, I think, if you're a very independent person, and a lot of entrepreneurs are ferociously independent, the notion of someone helping you for no gain is like mind-blowing, and you're suspicious of that. So what you were just saying, that's me. I'm like, why would you help me? I've done like nothing for you, you know. But that's, you know, I mean, it's amazing when you realize that's what people are doing for you, and it's humbling, very humbling to realize that. Yeah. And
it gave me an entirely upgraded attitude on how I would interact with other people. Because then I started realizing, oh, wow, I can always have this influence. And I didn't. So it helped me see how far ahead I was.
Right.
And helped me see how much more there is to learn from these other guys who've been doing these businesses forever, or much more advanced in some specific aspect of it. Yeah. And then you feel more, and it feels great to feel like, at least a little bit, part of something greater than just like we were both saying, just getting by and sitting there alone in a house, and like, well, I guess I need to send an email or something today. But and then finally feeling this connection and getting on video chats or calls with people, and sometimes, it's like just one idea or one conversation in 10 minutes can change everything.
I mean, I have found, you know, as I get older and wiser, I think that you let go of a little bit. You have to let go of what you imagine the future will look like. You know, when you're 20, you have this set plan. You know, you're going to do this. You're going to get married. You're going to have kids. You're going to, you know, get this job, and you're going to have this house, and you know, and that's kind of how you see it going, until all of a sudden, you know, you go through something earth shattering, and then you start to realize everything can change in a moment. Everything can change in a moment. So, you know, have a plan for success, but be willing to take the road less traveled, or to have a diversion if necessary. And that diversion comes in, you know, maybe volunteering somewhere. You know, that wasn't in the big picture, but it's good for you. Or having this conversation, or coming on a podcast at 9 o'clock in the morning with Garrett. Like, you just don't know, you know, where life will take you. So you just sort of go help people, and it's always like, you know, spread the good word, but, you know, not in like a religious way, but spread the good word of what you do and what you know, just like you did in those Facebook groups. You just spread the good word, right? You help people fight the good fight, and that's what we have to do in life.
Yeah, totally. It's and it's amazing and fun, and that can happen. I think even if someone listening might be thinking, well, I'm not online, or I don't have a lot of connections online, but like the original idea that Acres of Diamonds was, I believe that it was a speech that a guy made at a time when there was no internet, and that the premise of that is that the resources you actually need in your life are already there in your backyard. They're already surrounding you. So just getting out and talking to people. I know a mutual acquaintance of yours and mine, Ben Settle, had the idea about the dog shit business. I don't know if you remember that.
Vaguely. I can't remember what that was about now.
Like,
it rings a bell.
You can tell any yard, you can walk through your neighborhood and you'll know. I mean, for one thing, you'll see people who own dogs. You'll see the dogs, but you'll also see if they need help cleaning up their yards.
Right.
And so you have an audience, a predetermined audience that has a need right there in your neighborhood. And then all you have to do is be willing to go approach them and set up a system. You hire a couple high school kids to even go do the work, or do the work yourself if you need to right away. But within a short amount of time, they'll tell all their friends. People who have dogs tend to hang out or know the other people around who have dogs. And from there, you can have a decent little business running. And then from there, you also have a whole bunch of side things you could sell those people, because you know they have dogs, they have needs, they need leashes, or they need special dog treats, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people, I mean, a lot of the people that I work with, and I've fallen, victim to this as well, is that you don't really have to be an expert in anything to make money, right? And probably people will yell at me for saying that, but I mean, if you think about picking up dog shit, then if you want to use that analogy, you don't need to be an expert. Everyone knows how to pick up dog shit. It's just who's willing to do it.
Yeah.
So really, even if you have a hobby that you enjoy doing, like for example, I play the banjo. Am I a good banjo player? No. Right? Like I can pick a few songs out. Could I help someone else that's a brand new beginner with banjo? Absolutely. I don't have to be an expert in banjo to help somebody else figure out how to play a banjo. That's so whatever you know a little bit about can actually make you quite a lot of money, because you're only really looking to the person that's just one step below you and then helping them up to the step that you're on. I don't have to be a 15-year banjo, a bluegrass superstar to be a banjo teacher, or to help someone with banjo. I just have to know a little bit more than them. And, that opens up a lot more opportunities for people when they realize that it doesn't take, it's nice to have the 10,000 hours of experience that Outliers talks about. That's lovely. But it's not necessarily required to get you going, right? The 10,000 hour rule is for those who are truly experts. But if you just need to get going, figure out what you're good at and go help people do it. Because there's a market for everything. As I said, I think even before this podcast, I said there's a market for everything. So
yeah, totally. And even just going out and talking to people, if you haven't, like you were saying earlier, just going out and helping people at whatever they need to do. Even if you walk around the neighborhood and see someone moving or struggling with something, just walking up and saying, "Hey, what's going on?" Just
chat. Just be. I think a lot of people, we're just not as social as we used to be. Like I'm an extraordinarily social person. I go to the dog park and I come out with 3 friends. Like, I will literally talk to anyone. But a lot of people just won't. They won't go out and do that. And that's a shame, because, you just never know who's going to be the next, that next pivotal person in your life that's going to change things around for you. And not that you rely on someone else to change your, destiny, but you do have to kind of like have the inspiration to kind of go up and have a conversation with someone. I think if anyone's got kids that are listening to the podcast, my son is going to be 13 next week, and he wants a business. He wants to start his business, and he's 13 years old. And I said, yeah, no problem. We'll start your business called All Season Sam. And All Season Sam is basically a kid that goes around and cleans up your yard, which, whether it's debris from the trees or leaves or, grass cuttings, whatever it is. And we just make some flyers and we just go post those in people's, in people's doors. And will he get customers out of that? Absolutely. Because he will go up and, give people those flyers, and he will talk to people. And that's a great skill to have, is just to get out there and, make yourself known a little bit,
Yeah, totally. And again, that's a lot of fun. And sitting at home feeling depressed, that's the issue. It's so weird, because when people, and I know from looking back on my own darkness in my lives, or dark times that I've passed through, there's some barrier, invisible barrier, that seems to be there, where you feel like, well, I can't speak for you, but where I felt like, well, what the fuck do I have to offer anyone anyway?
Yeah.
And that's always a lie. That's always a lie, because even if you can just lift a box, you know what I mean? If someone's moving, or just say hello to someone, it can be a huge deal.
I think that, if you're really down and you've got that, you're just in that headspace where you don't feel like you have anything to offer, professionally, or as a business. And I think a lot of people, have a really hard time picking a niche or picking something that they think that they should be doing. If you're struggling with that, decide once and for all to only do things that are fun. only focus on the things that are fun for you. Because if you decide to pick a niche or do something that it'll generate income, but you're not really that invested in, or you're not really that passionate about, it's gonna make things worse. It's gonna make the depression deeper. It's gonna make, your life just miserable. So if you decide to do things that are only fun for you, you open up a lot more doors, right? You will start to gravitate towards the things that make you shine a little bit, which is one of the reasons that I picked up the banjo in the first place, is because I made a decision last year. I'm only going to do things that are fun for me. And so I picked up the banjo because it's a fun instrument. You can't be sad when you play the banjo. So, and that was one of the things. And now I'm, part of this, bluegrass community. I mean, am I a big bluegrass fan? Not particularly, but they're fun. They're nice people, and you just have to make a decision that focus on the fun things, or else you're just going to be trapped for a much longer period of time, and it sounds scary, but it's not that scary once you focus on the fun. And it sounds a bit arbitrary saying out loud, but I had this conversation with a mentor. I just said, he said, well, what are you going to do when you close the business? I'm like, I don't know yet, but I've decided that the only things I'm going to do are going to be fun for me. And he was like, oh, okay. So it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked out.
Totally. And that doesn't mean, and I think some people can think that means you're not going to ever do anything complicated or difficult again, but that's just totally not true as well, because I mean, I've built my life around that, and had to, when it sinks down under the muck, then re-aim that and find out what the new fun is. But generally built the life around that, and I've done all kinds of really complicated stuff. So I think in a way, it's if you're doing things that are fun for you, that's one of the only things that'll help you pull through the most difficult challenges that come up with business.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everyone needs a creative outlet. Whether entrepreneurs specifically need a creative outlets because they are naturally creative people, but they tend to focus their creation on business instead of just a hobby, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that everyone needs a creative outlet, and something that's completely just for fun for you, nothing to do with business, nothing to do with any goals that you've set for yourself in life, just something that opens up your brain, unpacks a few emotions, and like just something fun. And that, I mean, what am I going to do with banjo? It's like I can't really merge that with email marketing in too many different ways. You know what, it's nothing to do with business. It's just a thing that I do, and I go to my lesson every Saturday at 9:30, and that's where I have to be every Saturday, and I learn something new, and you open up your brain, and it's really important, and it's not really talked about. I mean, you won't see the seven figure mastermind launching, 7-figure launch guys really talking about picking up a banjo and plucking some strings, but everyone needs a creative outlet. It's really critical in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think, I'm not really that impressed anymore with a lot of the business folks who are promoting like the hustle all the time, and then they're bragging about working insane amounts of hours. It just doesn't seem right to me at all, at least. Maybe that's good for some people, or to get someone over a hump or out of a certain situation, but even then, I don't know that that's the right way, because it might give your own brain, you might create a resistance to that over time. And there's no way anyone can keep that up for too long.
I mean, again, as I, get older and wiser, why the fuck would I want to work that hard? Like, why I don't need a big house. I don't need a private jet. I certainly don't need bags of cash. So why would I want to work that hard? Just the passion of getting to the 7-figure point is not going to motivate me to work that hard. So, and I've talked about success with many audiences, and the definition of success, and everyone's definition of success is very different. And if their definition of success is a private jet and a bag of cash, so be it. But that is not success, in my opinion, is not success to aspire to. Success could be paying all your bills and saving some money. Success could be buying a tiny little cottage on a lake, and the ramshackle cottage that needs putting back together again. That could be success. Success could be something so small. It doesn't have to be this, the internet type of success. That's that's just for show. Real success comes when you raise a family well, and you know all the bills are paid and you've got good food on the table and you can have a laugh with your friends. That, to me, that's real success, you know, when you boil it down.
Yeah, totally. I agree too. And I think it would be a rare person, if anyone, who would be sitting on their deathbed and look back and say, you know, I wish I would have worked a lot more,
Yeah, exactly.
and saved up more and all this. You know, it's just the priorities get a little bit mixed up, especially in when people get competitive or trying to live up
Yeah.
to some idea they think they need to live up to, rather than getting what they actually want and need in their own life. Yeah, it's very.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So one of the last things I wanted to ask is for folks who haven't done a business or who have never done any freelancing or any kind of business stuff, but they're in a job and they maybe are starting to feel like that's, to me, a job is one of the more stressful things I ever did. I know I said before the call, I never worked a job. I actually did work a lot of jobs, but not anything for more than like 6 months. Maybe a year
Right.
was the longest, but I tried 40 different ones. And every time it was like the most soul crushing thing that ever happened to me. And
Right.
so that forced me into a completely different way of life. So in a way, I even admire that people are able to stick with that kind of thing for so long. I have no idea how they do it. But yeah, that one income stream thing, especially now, it can be so volatile.
It's never a good idea to have one stream of income, ever.
Yeah. So
I
what
know
would you
that I've
say?
learned that the hard way.
Yeah, I'm sure. So what would you say to these folks if they, I mean, what does a person do if they're at a business or if they're at a job now and they're working standard 40 hours or whatever it is a week? What should they do to try and branch out?
I think. Well, I mean, I've had many clients in this position over the years, of business coaching and in the online business coaching business, and so and I had to go through this too many years ago, probably 10 years ago. So the one thing that's really important is first of all, getting a mentor, right? Because there's no way you're going to push yourself to jump into the unknown without someone there to hold your hand. I mean, it's a lot easier if you get a mentor. So first and foremost, if you're absolutely serious and you're done with your 9 to 5 or done with the position that you're in, find yourself a mentor or someone that you can, someone to guide you a little bit through it, right? Because it's a very scary transition. Second of all, figure out what your priorities are, right? Figure out when your job has gone and you put your 2 weeks in or whatever it is. Before you do any of that, figure out what your priorities are in life. You know, why are you doing this? If your priority is to have financial security and pay off, your debt and pay your mortgage down, perhaps leaving your job at this particular juncture isn't the right step for you. Because if you truly prioritize security and financial security, or I should say the illusion of financial security, but if you really prioritize that paycheck every 2 weeks, perhaps you need to rethink your ideas, right? So that would be the first 2 steps before even you contemplate getting rid of your job and moving into entrepreneurship. Now, the smart way to go about it is to do a balancing act. So you would continue on with your job. So you keep your 9 to 5 job, plan to have that job for another 3 to 6 months. Okay. So you have your job, and in the interim, you're building out your business, which is where the mentor comes in, because they can quickly get you up and running. Where, if you don't have a mentor, you typically spend years trying to figure it out. So you plan to have your job for about 3 to 6 more months. In the interim, get that mentor on board so they can help you strategically set up a business. Will you work your ass off in that 6 months? Absolutely. Will you get very much sleep? No, probably not. But what we're trying to do is maintain the security of the job, of the financial security of the job, the paycheck, while you focus on building a business that can sustain you for a little bit, right? Because there's obviously a dip in the beginning, financially speaking. When you start a business, it's not all roses. You don't start with $1 million. So, if you are a little concerned about the money, I would say do a balancing act, right? That would be the smart way. Have I done that? No, because I'm an idiot. But don't do as I say, not as I do. So balance the job and build the business in your evenings or in your spare time and on the weekends. And then there'll become a point where that little business that you are growing there will be able to sustain the household, and you'll be able to have income That might take 6 months, it might take 12, right? But that would be the safest way to go about jumping in. The emotional way to do it is to hand in your 2 weeks and figure it out and learn how to fly on the way down. That's the Misty way of doing things, and it never failed me, and I've always landed on my feet. But that might not be, that's a bit radical. So that's definitely a radical undoing, as you would say.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, the smart way would be to do that balancing act. The emotional way would be to jump, learn how to fly, but either way, you've got to get a mentor to guide you and to show you where to go.
Yeah, I think that's very good advice, and I've learned it along the way just by diving into the deep end as well and almost drowning. So I'm with you on that, and I think that is good for people. I don't know that I can't really give that advice to people, because then if they make you or me responsible, then that's another problem. But if folks will know if that's the right move and they're wondering if they should do it or not, then I recommend watching Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And if you really feel that vibe, then yeah, go for it for sure. But if you're absolutely terrified, then yeah, I think the mentor is really a healthy way to go.
Yeah, it's an investment, but it'll be one of many for successful business. But I definitely think that having someone there who's been there, done that, is the quickest way to success. And a lot of people don't really want to put the money out. They don't really want to make that investment because it's not a sure thing. But it's, in my opinion, I've always been mentored. I've always had a coach, and I've always been, whatever business I've taken on, it's always been the right way to go. So yeah, definitely recommend it.
One thing I see that people ignore often, well, two things. One is that they could buy up. There's so many amazing books that I've read about business and from all different angles on Amazon. And a lot of them are really cheap on Kindle, or you could just buy that membership and then read tons of them for free. I don't even know what the membership is because I like to buy them, but there's some membership where you just get to read whatever Kindle books you want for some monthly fee, and it can't be that much. But starting there and then filling the spare time, instead of complaining and commiserating and going out drinking on the weekends, you could begin filling that extra time with studying things that are inspiring to you. Whether, like you said, the banjo is even a nice way to go with something that gets the brain more active, but also something in the direction of transitioning out of the job, or reading stories of people who successfully did it and seeing how they did it.
Yeah. I mean, you need to have the inspiration, right? Like you got to know in your heart of hearts. Like people can tell you, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Just do it. But unless you have really, got that message into your heart, it's going to be terrifying. But luckily there are a tremendous amount of success stories out there that, I mean, I don't know how cheesy this is or how cliche, but I will say that Richard Branson I just find his energy and everything. I just find his whole thing very, very inspirational. And so do a lot of people, obviously. But he's one of the big names that I can say that, yeah, like I really enjoy following him on Instagram, and I like the vibe, and that was he was one of my, it still is to this day, one of my big inspirations. In the one of the big names anyway. There's tons of people, but yeah, he's one of the big names I really enjoy following.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. Yeah, whether you agree or disagree with him, he's a lot of fun and interesting character out there in the world for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and that and that brings up a whole new kettle of fish. Is you don't have to agree with someone to find them useful. I think that I've mentored with many people in my time, and I haven't agreed with everything that they've ever said, but they've still been a massive help. So it's just picking out the parts that resonate with you and moving forward with that, and being very open-minded with who you follow. Like people, I come from a bunch of people. Some 50% love Gary Vee and 50% hate Gary Vee. But in the end, if you can just pick out what you enjoy listening to and what the parts that make sense to you, then that's fine. You don't have to be you don't have to drink the Kool-Aid and go all in. You just have to find the bits that resonate and take them and push those into your heart and follow those bits.
Yeah, exactly. And I think people will know what's right for them when they hear it.
Yeah.
Then said you don't have to just buy into everything that you hear or read.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing, kind of returning to that acres of diamonds idea, that I think people really take for granted is unless you live way out in the countryside, but even then, there's going to be, you're pretty much surrounded by successful business owners if you live in any town or city anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you live in like one of the few socialist states, which I don't even know if there's any that exist anymore. Hopefully not. But unless you live in an absolute, socialist dictatorship, you're surrounded by somewhat successful business owners. Now they might not be as glamorous as the ones that are on the internet or on video all day long. But if you go to a pizza place, a small pizza place that you really like, that's been there for 20 years, there's some old dude or old lady who's behind that, who's sitting there, and maybe has never been asked by anyone in the local, in their local community, how they got there and how they managed to keep that thing going. And then maybe like there's some franchise store down the street, and someone's been running that. So even if you have nothing, you go to the businesses that you already shop at or that you like, that have been there for a while, and you can talk to all those business owners, and they might even need help, or they might want to sit and talk with you, and it can be super inspiring. I kind of got started with some different freelance gigs. I think I was trading for beer and for burgers at a new bar when the guy came and opened it, because no one was helping him with local marketing.
Right.
And he didn't have any money to pay, so I tried to pitch him on something, but then he didn't pay. But then he said, why don't you just come and have beers and food anytime you want, and then we'll work on the marketing a little.
Right. Yeah.
Great time with that guy. That place is still there now. It's up and running, and been up there for, I guess that's been there now for like 10 years. So he did really well. And I made a really nice strong connection there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a feed I love to read. It's called Humans of New York. It's it's on Instagram, and basically it's just about interviewing different people in New York and hearing their story. And it's unbelievable what people have been through. Like you would have, you see hundreds of people on the streets every day, and yet every single person has this story of greatness. And Humans of New York is basically about uncovering everyone's story of greatness. And you just don't know. You just don't know until you ask. You got to go out and talk to people. And it's unbelievable, some of the stuff that people will tell you, if you just ask.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. And like I said, most people haven't been even approached about this kind of stuff, especially if they're not in a glamorous, business where their time is completely devoured by a lot of online presence.
Right.
But I found that a lot of business owners, especially ones that have a clothing shop or something where it's like an arts type shop or a jewelry store, or especially like I said, art studios, all different places in some of the small towns I lived in. Those people were happy to hang out and talk for hours sometimes about the business going, and no one had ever asked them. They wanted to tell everything about how they got it going.
Well, there's definitely some pride there, and they deserve to be heard because they've worked really hard, to get everything up and going, right? So it's you're doing them a favor, but you're also learning at the same time. So it's really mutually beneficial to go out and just, start talking with your community, for sure. 100%. I love it. I love my community. I live on an island outside Toronto, and we have our own community, and we have our own meetings, and everyone is like 80, and then there's me. And I just go and I listen to the historians, and I think it's so important. I'm not going there with any agenda. I just like to go and listen and talk to people and get to know the people in my community. Right. So it's important.
Awesome. Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So, well, Misty, thanks a lot for coming on. And before we go, I wanted to ask you if folks want to learn more from you or get involved with what you're up to now, how can they do that?
Yeah, they can pop to the website, which is breakingbreadmastermind.com. That's one of my main websites that people can communicate through. Or the better way, the faster way, is just to find me on Facebook under Teresa Misty. I'll pop up if they put that in. But yeah, breakingbreadmastermind.com is kind of where we hang out, and they're welcome to contact me through there. And that's about it.
Okay, great. Well, I'll put links to that too. So if folks are listening, you can go to the radicalundoing.com site where the podcast posts are originally posted, and you'll be able to find those links there. And yeah, I encourage everybody to get in touch with you and have a wonderful time. I always enjoy talking to you, and I'm glad we're connected over all this time.
I know, right? It has been years, really, at this point.
Yeah, it's very cool. So we'll have you on again sometime. And if you need any help with anything or have anything fun to share, then please reach out as always.
Yeah, likewise. I joined your group this morning, and so I'll be in the group. And if anyone wants to reach out in there, they're welcome to. But yeah, like if it's always a pleasure having these conversations with Garrett, because I just think you've got great energy, and you're just this great big love bug hippie, and I love it so much. I love it.
Don't tell everybody. No.
It's too late. Already done.
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on. Yeah, super great to talk to you, and I'm sure we'll be in touch again soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thank you for listening to the Art of Not Giving a Fuck podcast. For more info, visit artofnotgivingthefuck.com or radicalanddavid.com.